Welcome to Three Dead Flies. Today we're going to make some hot process bar soap. We're going to make about 20 pounds. So this is my setup. This is a drill press, and I've got a paint stirrer hooked up to the drill press, and I've got the pot on a Lazy Susan so that it will turn very easily. I can turn the pot very easily, and as you can see, I've already poured in my lye water, and my solution is right around 180 plus degrees. So here we go. The drill press does all of the hard work. All I have to do is stand here and give the Lazy Susan a push now and again. And that's all about all I have to do. And I get a real nice mix. It's very thorough, it's very complete, and it's easy. So I'm all about doing things the easy way, and I have never found a better way than this. If anybody wants to see how I set this up, you can just leave me a comment and I'll tell you the details. The Lazy Susan fixture was about $8 at Home Depot, and I used some scrap plywood to build the deck. And then the paint stirrer is about 12 bucks, and there's two propellers on it. I took the propeller off of another paint stirrer and put it on this one, so there are two opposing propellers. One's canted one way and the other one's canted the other, so it causes a real nice mixture. As you can see, it's really mixing nice. But this is like having a KitchenAid mixer in your kitchen. You know, if you want to stand there and beat the cookie dough with your hand, that's one thing. Or you can use a machine, which is a lot nicer, and that's what I've decided to do. This is running at the slowest RPM I can get out of this machine. It's about 320 RPM. And I wish I could run it slower, actually. I wish I could run about 180 or so. But this is the best I can do with this machine, so it makes excellent soap. So let's see if I can get my temperature, if you can see it. That's warmed up, so now it's at 191, almost 192. There you go, 192. So it's pretty hot. And that's what you want for hot process soap. You want to cure that lye all while we're doing this. Oh, and by the way, I poured the lye water in at exactly 12:58 p.m. So it is now 1:02. So it's been going for about 4 minutes. When I turned it on was the very first part of the mix. As you could see, I hadn't mixed it at all until then. So you can watch this go in real time. As it gets boring, I'm probably going to turn the camera off and wait for something to develop. But as things develop, I will show them so you can see what's happening. It works pretty good. You'll see. Okay, now the time is 1:11 p.m. So we've been going now for about 13 minutes or so. And if you look at the soap, it's starting to look kind of chunky. If you look back here, the clear part is separated kind of from the solid part, and it looks like you're making a mess, but don't worry, you're not. Everything's fine. This is what it does, and it's starting to process, starting to saponify, and starting to make you some good soap. But you just got to keep that mixer going, because there is likely to be a reasonably significant volcano stage where this will all rise up and get maybe about this deep, up to about here, and at that point you'll be glad that you had a big pot instead of a small one. You don't want this stuff to go all over the floor. Don't ask me how I know that. give the Lazy Susan a little bit of a push to give me a really complete mix, and at some point the soap will be thick enough to where the resistance against the beater will cause it to go around on its own, and I won't have to give it any help at all. I mean, could I be any lazier? But this is nice, you gotta admit. I've done this with a handheld drill. I've done this with a stick blender, and I'm telling you, this is the way to go. You want a drill press that has the power to overcome the resistance of the soap batter, so it won't burn up. You want enough power, for sure. But if you have that, wow, this is so nice. It's so much nicer than doing it by hand. I could literally do probably, I don't know, 10 or 15 gallons this way. I would need a bigger drill press, but this technique would definitely work. You could put those beater propellers all along this shaft, and it would just keep this thing going and going and going. You could do a barrel full of soap at a time. Let's see if I stop it. If I stop the drill, you can see that it's, now if you watch what happens, usually the solids will start to sink because they're not combining yet, and not all of the oil has turned into soap. So we're getting there, we're just not there yet, so we got to keep turning it. Look how chunky that looks. It's now 1:15, so we're 17 minutes into it. It's reacting though, you can see it reacting right before your eyes. Some people call this the applesauce stage, where it kind of looks like mixing applesauce that hasn't quite turned as creamy as you'd hope. You see the surface is kind of lumpy. You can also see it pulling away from the sides back there. Let's see, let me point to an area like back there. You can see the clear is along the wall of the pot, but let me adjust the camera a little bit. Let me go up like that. There, like that. And you can look back here, and the clear is just not yet combined. So we're getting there, we're just not there yet. Now you can really see the applesaucey look down in here. This is getting really chunky. It's happening, but it just takes a little bit of time. You can see it's really starting to get chunky now. Look at that. See how it's all starting to really come together. So it's now it's 1:17, so we're 19 minutes into it. Remember, this only takes about 30 minutes, so we're coming up on it. You know, I've only got about 10 minutes to go, and this will be soap. You'll see, it's really starting to get, this is starting to really combine up and get get thicker. Now I don't have to touch the pot, and the resistance in the soap keeps it going. This is my hand, and it's going on its own. That's the part I really like, when I really don't have to do anything. It's kind of nice. Thicker and thicker. It's not splashing as much. The beaters aren't flinging the oil up in the air as much. It's starting to pull together. You can see it's starting to pull away from the sides of the pot. It's starting to make, it kind of looks kind of round. I don't know if you can tell, but I hope you can see. Soften the light a little bit. You can see how it's pulling away from the sides as it goes around. It's starting to pull up and become soap. Remember how it looked like applesauce? Now look at it. Now it's looking thick. See that? It proves that it's reacting. So for the first 15, 18, even maybe up to 20 minutes, you think to yourself as you're doing this, is this really going to work? But then it starts to pull together. Look at that. Now it's really coming together. Now I can leave my hand off of it and it's just going around on its own. I don't have to touch it. I just stand back and let it do the magic. The light is really bright. Hope you can see what's going on there. Okay, now it's really starting to pull all of the soap away from the walls of the pot, and you notice there's no clear liquid up against the pot anymore. Now it's all turned into a batter. Now it's almost there. We've almost got soap. Now we're going to get a little bit of expansion here. This is the volcano stage, and it's going to rise up, and you're probably going to lose the ability to see the beaters at all. All you'll be able to see is the shaft, and that's it. There, see, it's coming up. So you see the level rising. It's turning into soap now. We're at 120, so we've been at this for 22 minutes. You got to keep the beater going, because if you turn it off, the volcano action can come right up to the top of the pot and maybe come over the edge, and you don't want that. It makes a big mess on your floor. I've done that, and that sucks. Round and round it goes. I don't have to touch it. There it is. It's going around. That's my hand. I'm not helping it. The Lazy Susan, I'm telling you, this is the slickest thing that we've ever come up with. By the way, I got to give credit where it's due. My best friend Gordon Collier and I came up with this idea together, and we messed with the recipe a bunch in order to get it to be what it is today. And we really like this recipe. We give this to our family and my work staff and all my friends, anybody that wants it really. And this batch will make 40 bars that are about 8.2 ounces each. So they're really large man-sized bars. And it doesn't take very long to do it. It's pretty nice. So there's a guy on YouTube, and he describes the hot process coming down to the end, and he says the sound when you're mixing it gets a sticky, silky sound. And when you hear it, you think, yeah, that's what that sounds like. It sounds sticky and silky. I know that sounds really odd, but he was right. It does sound that way. And when you get to that point, you have made soap. And all you got to do is form it up in no mold, let it harden, and it's usable. So this soap will be ready to use after I cut it tomorrow. So there's no 6-week curing period or any of that. I don't have to do any of that stuff. We just make it and then use it. So it's now 1:23. Remember, I started at 12:58. So we've been at this for 25 minutes. And that's looking really good right there. If I stop the drill press, you can see that if you notice back there, see how that gel? That's soap. That gel look, that clear, translucent look, that's soap. And this, you can see this rising right, I don't know if you can tell, but that's rising. So it's still got the volcano effect going. So I'm going to keep it going. And I didn't even give the Lazy Susan a push that time, it just took off on its own. I'm going to stir it another, I don't know, 3 or 4 minutes. And then I'm going to pour it in the mold. But that's how you do it. And if anybody has any questions, feel free to write a comment or ask a question. I'll do my best to answer. I've been making cold processed soap since 2006, and I've been making hot processed soap since about 2015 or so. So I don't have near the experience with hot process as I do with cold process, but I find everything about it very fascinating and useful. So after this finishes, which is going to be in a couple more minutes, I'm going to pour this into the mold, and I'll show you that. The molds that I use are 50 inches long, 4 inches wide, and 2.5 inches deep. My cutter cuts the soap 1.5 inches wide, and my bars end up about 8.1 or 8.2 ounces each. So they're nice big healthy bars. And I suppose I could cut them each in half if I felt like it. But I have large hands, and I like the way these are. I had a guy on Etsy build these molds for me, and I told him how big I wanted them, and he built them exactly how I asked him to. So they're nice. I've been using them for several years now, and I can do a 20-pound batch like we just did in an hour, and 20 pounds of soap lasts my family about 6 months or so. And I have plenty that I can hand out, give away, help people that need it. And it's very high quality. I don't scent my soap, and I don't dye it. I don't put color in it at all. I don't scent it because if I did and somebody doesn't like the scent, then I've got a big batch of soap that people don't like. And then if I color it and people don't like the color, then I've got a big batch of soap that's colored in a way that people don't like. So I just make it high quality, good cleansing soap, and there is no scent and no color, and it's very middle of the road. That's the way I want it. So there you go. It's pretty rustic. That's about all I do. I just kind of make it so all the bars, when I cut them, they all turn out about the same size, and that's about all. I don't do a design, or do drop swirl or any of those things that people do, and that's fine if you want to do that. That's just not my deal. So there you go. That's 20 pounds of soap in less than an hour. So I'll check the time here in just a second. I'll tell you exactly what time it is. I tend to mound the soap up in the middle, because as it cools, it sags in the middle, and you get these bars that are high on the outside and low on the inside. So I tend to mount it up in the center, and that makes it so that it evens out when it dries. So it turns out a lot better, I think. Anyway, time right now is 1:34, and we started at 12:58. It's now 1:34. I mean, it doesn't take, that's not an hour. Jeez. I mean, it doesn't take long. You can bang out, I got another mold right there. I could bang out another 20 pounds of soap. No problem. So, if anybody has any questions, I'm here. I will try to answer them. I don't know everything, but if I do know the answer, I will tell you what I think. Alright. Thanks for watching. I'm going to kill the camera.